All right, welcome back to the channel, everyone, as we have a fantastic episode for you guys today. If you have seen my top 25, you will know it's more of a power ranking type of thing. But in today's episode, we continue on that strain of videos as we do my Big Ten Summer Power Rankings. And I think that it is a great episode. I hope y'all enjoy. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Subscribing is the best way to support the channel. We need more subscribers to be flowing in, and I really want you guys to subscribe. All right, without further ado, let's just dive right into the video. All right, so kicking off this Big Ten Power Rankings video, we go in reverse order. So we start at the bottom and work our way up. So at number 18, I have the Northwestern Wildcats. Northwestern is here as at 18. They struggled immensely last season as they finished 4-8, 2-7 in Big Ten play, placing 16th in the conference standing, 16 out of 18. Despite, they had a standout win over Maryland, 37-10. They were really consistently bad, suffering blowouts like 50-6 to Michigan, 41-24 to Indiana, and 40-14 to Iowa. Upside can be seen in Coach David Braun returning, providing stability, and SMU transfer quarterback Preston Stone could improve an offense that averaged just a measly 18 points per game in 2024. Running back Cam Porter coming back to be RB1 is also a plus, but it is hard when there are zero weapons on the outside and no protection to help Stone and Porter with the fact that they lost 4 offensive line starters, and this creates a big problem for the Wildcats in this upcoming season, one that I'm not sure that they address very well at all. Facing a tough schedule in the Big Ten does them no favors. Their defense does return 63% of their production, but without offensive growth quickly, they will be at the bottom of the Big Ten after another losing season. Okay, we're now at 17 here with the Maryland Terrapins. I'm going to be harsh, but I'm going to provide some optimism toward the end. Maryland's here at 17 due to their 2024 collapse and roster losses and, frankly, a bleak outlook for the future. They ended 4-8, 1-8 in the Big Ten, which is actually worse than Northwestern was. Northwestern was 2-7 in Big Ten play. And really, Maryland they were not close to any other Big Ten teams that they were supposed to compete with. Say that one upset win over USC, and I think we can all see that was more of a fluke than anything. I love the win for Maryland. It was really fun, at home, all that sort of jazz. But they played like a G5 team would play in the Big Ten. They just didn't look on anyone's level at all, in my opinion. Quarterback Billy Edwards, who threw for 2,881 yards, transferred to Wisconsin, and starting running back RB1 Roman Hemby left for Indiana. That gutted the offense. And, whoever the new quarterback one will be that new quarterback Justin Martin from UCLA, who is young and unproven, or the 3-star true freshman Malik Washington. Either way, it's going to be a downgrade at the quarterback position. At running back, it's obviously a downgrade, and it's going to be even harder to produce due to a very weak offensive line, in my opinion. Coach Mike Locksley, his seat is white hot, and that is an understatement. As he was brought in, as this great recruiter, and his last class, his 2025 class, ranks 16th out of the 18 Big Ten teams. He's not recruiting at all, like he used to. Well, like some say he used to. I didn't think he was that great of a recruiter to begin with. He doesn't really develop. He's not a scheme guy either. He's not a guy he's not a tactician, as some would say. And he's not really a recruiter anymore. So what is he even doing for his team? Nothing. If they do not make a bowl game this year, prepare for a clean house in 2026. I firmly believe that. And if I'm a Maryland fan, I'm wanting that to happen. For them to succeed in the future, by the future I mean 27, 28, 29, 2030, I think that they need to clean house and they need to cut him off. They should have fired him this offseason, in my opinion. They really should have. And I'll be completely honest, I see nothing trending up for the Terrapins besides getting recruits for the future. I'm talking about 5-star Zion Ely. But what are the chances he even makes it to campus in 2026 with how volatile the nature of college football is? And case in point, he took a visit to Auburn recently, and he's lined up to take more visits. I don't think he is going to be on campus in 2026 for the Maryland Terrapins. I see nothing going into this 2025 season that makes me think that this is a Maryland team capable of getting to a bowl game, much less winning more than a couple of games. Okay, at 16 here, now we have the Purdue Boilermakers. Purdue at 16th reflects new hope with new head coach Barry Odom, while also acknowledging that they did go 1-11 last year, not winning a single conference game, and they were just dog water. What new head coach Barry Odom coming over from UNLV brings is a complete turnaround. They have only one returning starter from last season. They had to have a depleted roster. Improvements are going to take time. Last year, their 2024 offense averaged under 18 points per game, and their defense averaged giving up about 35 plus points on average, which is terrible. They were the worst Power 4 team out there last year. And on top of that, they lost pretty much all their holdovers to the portal, them being Will Helt, Dylan Thieneman, Max Clare, Jamal Aradine, and Nealon Green, among others. For those reasons, they're understandably low on this power ranking because of the lack of talent in the building. But Odom's hire has brought a completely new energy into the program that I think that they have desperately needed for a while. I don't think Ryan Walters really brought that much energy with him and really anything to the table. I didn't like the hire from the beginning. But what Odom has brought in, he has brought in now 51 new transfers. 51 completely remade the roster. Now, I don't think they're of the talent to where they're going to be like Indiana. I've seen a couple people, I've heard a couple people be like, oh, this Purdue team set up a lot like last year's Indiana. I don't think they're as talented as last year's Indiana transfers were, but we'll see. There's a small chance of that happening, by small, probably 1 or 2% chance of that happening. But still, I think that there's good reason for optimism if you're a Boilermaker fans. This year's going to be rough. I think it will be, and I think most people think it will be, but he's completely cleaning house. He's bringing his guys in immediately, and I think over time, about the course of 2 or 3 years, he will have Purdue running toward a bowl game and more. Okay, at number 15 here, we have the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Rutgers, I think they faded in 2024. They started 4-0, but finished 7-6, 4-5 in the Big Ten, 11th in the Big Ten standings, with losses in 5 of their last 6 games. Quarterback Ethan Kaliakmanis returns, but the defense, a 2024 strength, lost key pieces such as linebacker Mohamed Toure, and they had to replace the entire defensive line. Coach Greg Schiano's conservative style of play calling and game management on offense may limit upside in a deeper Big Ten. Plus, the fact that they didn't really add anyone that will be a difference maker in the portal. DT Sheffield is nice coming from North Texas, but I don't think he alone brings enough juice to ignite this offense. I do give Greg Schiano the benefit of the doubt when it comes to winning games he is supposed to win, but I think his time is slowly fading and his style of play calling is slowly fading. When you don't have the talent in the building, a lot of you will say, oh, what about Iowa? Iowa runs their stuff a lot like Rutgers does. Not necessarily the case. Iowa's got a lot of talent in the building, and they have a ton of depth and great coaching. I don't necessarily see that with Rutgers. I get the great coaching part. I really like Greg Schiano as a coach, but I just do not trust the talent in that building for them to stay, how they are. I really like Ethan Kaliakmanis. I really do. I think that he's a really darn good quarterback, one of probably in the top half of the Big Ten in terms of starting quarterbacks, but I just don't see enough around him to really do anything. Their strength is running the ball these past couple of years with Kyle Monangai. Kyle Monangai is now gone. A lot of their offensive line is now gone from those past years. So I really don't see Rutgers keeping up in this new era of the Big Ten. At number 14, now we have the Wisconsin Badgers. Oh, Wisconsin. I've really tried to refrain from saying too much on this team because Wisconsin's a big wild card for me. I speak a lot about different teams on Twitter. If you don't follow me on Twitter, go follow me over there. Just type in Eddie from College Football 360 and it's right there. I try and refrain from talking about the Wisconsin because I just don't know what they're going to be here. They had a disappointing 2024 in year 2 of the Luke Fickell era. That's for sure. They went 5-7, 3-6 in the Big Ten, and there's real uncertainty here for their future. Their offense averaged, 21.9 points per game. That offense plagued them all season. They were inconsistent. They just didn't have the right mojo going, as I would like to put it. To accentuate those offensive woes, yes, Tyler Van Dyke is gone, but he didn't really play too much. Will Pauling left for Notre Dame, and he was one of the leading receivers on this team for a couple years now. He's been one of the better receivers on Wisconsin in a while. He was second on the team in receiving last year. And they lost Tyree Walker at running back. Their running back room is completely redone, and I don't really like it as much as last year's. Not on offense, but Xavier Lucas was a huge loss in the secondary. However, they did retool getting quarterback Billy Edwards, who I frankly have my doubts about, and they beefed up their defensive line, getting 3 4-star defensive linemen and 2 4-star edge players. They had one of the better portal classes, which is why, I'm still, holding out hope for this roster. They had the third best portal class in the Big Ten, only behind Nebraska and Oregon. And these guys will help to build depth and overall production. Luke Fickell's 13-13 record over 2 years raises questions, as national perception is that he should be doing a lot better. And I personally have my own takes on him, but that is a topic for another video. I still think that they are a talented enough team to be firmly in the middle of the pack, yet I think that they have a low ceiling, in my opinion. At number 13, we have UCLA. UCLA is going to be a very fun team to watch this upcoming season. They will be playing with what I call reckless abandon. They're kind of playing with house money here. They had Nico Imaliava come in from Tennessee, and he can sling it, and kind of just a series of fortunate events that led Nico to be coming to UCLA. I feel like some people get this notion that since he transferred from Tennessee, this great powerhouse program, to UCLA, which, struggled last season immensely, that, he's not that great of a quarterback, or, something like that. That cannot be further from the truth, as he is still the same guy that single-handedly won Tennessee that Bama game and made plenty of great throws as a redshirt freshman last year. I digress, because this is not a topic. This is not a video on Nico, but my point still stands. He's an excellent quarterback, elevating the Bruins' ceiling tremendously while not really lowering the floor at all. Looking back to last season, wins over Iowa and Nebraska last year showed promise. They were really physical in those games. I watched. I'm pretty sure I watched both of them, and they were really physical in those games. Carson Schwetzinger had a lot to do with it, but I think that they can really build off of those games, the physicality that they brought to those games, and really, look forward to this upcoming year with that intensity, but inconsistently plagued them all season last season. Coach Deshaun Foster's first year was shaky, but a 30-player transfer class headed by the aforementioned Nico and new OC Tino Sunseri signal progress. The defense, which was solid at times, will be okay in my opinion, but I am worried about how they will play against any competent offense in the Big Ten who can throw it well. I have questions about their secondary. They are firmly in a tier above schools like Rutgers and Wisconsin due to their quarterback and, just ability to throw the ball. And like I said before, they'll be very fun to watch, but they are not talented enough anymore to jump any more spots at this juncture. At number 11, we have Michigan State. The Spartans are here at number 12, another team that I think has a pretty high ceiling compared to what the national media is giving them credit for, but also a pretty low floor as well. Last year was the first year under new head coach Jonathan Smith, as he led the Spartans to a 5-7 record, which was pretty darn good for a first-year head coach. And to be honest, last year I thought that they didn't have too good of a roster besides Aiden Childs, and they were able to scrap together 5 wins, which is pretty huge in my opinion. I think a year 2 jump is in play here, as I think that they have the potential to get to a bowl game. Wins over Maryland and Purdue showed year 1 progress, but losses like 47-10 against Indiana and 41-14 against Rutgers. 38-16 against Illinois revealed a great lack of depth and talent in year 1. That's what I was talking about previously. Quarterback Aiden Childs returns now with Big Ten experience, and that is huge. I think that Big Ten experience is huge for any year 1 quarterback. All the year 1 quarterbacks, in fact. You go to Dylan Raiola at Nebraska. You go to, all these different quarterbacks. Raiola was the first one that came to my mind. But, you can go to Billy Edwards last year at Maryland, all these different quarterbacks that I think 1 year in the Big Ten does a lot for you if you come back and play a second one. And that was true for Drew Aller. What did Drew Aller do his first year? He was objectively not very good in his first year in the Big Ten, and then he ended up in his second year taking off and making the college football playoff, and now he's here for a third year. Well, we'll talk about him later. Okay, we're getting a little bit off topic here, but they had a decent transfer class that bolstered depth. the Spartans did. And a big piece of the 2025 Spartans will be Jonathan Smith and the coaching staff. This is a top 25 staff, in my opinion. And if they are to compete for anything this upcoming season, they're going to need this staff to really function at his highest level. I really regard Jonathan Smith as a really good head coach. I love what he did at Oregon State, but he's going to need to step it up big time. Portal losses were matched with portal wins. See losing 4-star corner Charles Brantley to get 4-star corner Joshua Eaton. So I'm not too concerned with what they lost and what they gained. It's largely going to be about the same roster as last year, just with overall more depth. And overall, they have some really nice pieces on this team, but I think a lack of quality depth will hurt them again this season. I said they have depth, not quality depth. I think that they will be building that quality depth over time, though I do see them having a high upside season as well. I think that the highest that win total they can get to is about 8 this season. Their floor, I think, is about 3 or 4 wins. This past year, year one, and this upcoming year two are the prototypical year rebuilding seasons, and I think that Jonathan Smith is working behind the scenes to mold this team into a juggernaut in year 3 and beyond. But as we are considering this season, I do not think that they will achieve much past a bowl appearance, but that would be pretty good for them. All right, at number 11, now continuing on in our Big Ten power rankings for the summer of 2025, we have the Washington Huskies. Surprisingly, in my opinion, they went 6-7 last year, 4-5 in a transitional year. I did not think that they would make a bowl game. I did not think that they would get. I thought that their ceiling was like 5 wins last year. I was very pessimistic on Washington, and they kind of proved me wrong. When I thought, they would not be near as competitive as I thought they were. Losses to Iowa, which was 40-16, and Indiana exposed weaknesses post Kalen DeBoer, but new head coach Jedd Fisch will start polarizing quarterback Demond Williams Jr. this upcoming year, but the roster loss impact players such as Thaddeus Dixon, Kamori House, and Caleb Presley. However, they returned star running back Jonah Coleman, which is huge for the Huskies, as he is probably a fringe, what I would call a fringe top 10 running back. He's definitely top 15 in the country right now. While their portal class was subpar, they brought in a couple of impact players such as Takario Davis, corner from Arizona, and tackle Carver Willis from K-State, both 4-star prospects in the portal. Adding a top 25 to 2025 recruiting class to the mix offers hope for the future, but adapting to the Big Ten's physicality keeps them mid-tier because I don't think they did a good job of that last year. Excuse me. As of right now, I cannot trust them to match the physicality of teams in the Big Ten, especially when they go play at Michigan, at Wisconsin, and host Illinois late in the season. And, that does not include playing against Ohio State and Oregon. And I think that they have probably the highest upside of any team talked about thus far, but I think they're 1 or 2 injuries away from a really shaky season. Going forward here from number 10 to number 7, so these 4 teams that I have here from 10 to 7 really are in their own category. There, you could sell me on USC here at 10, who we'll be talking about in a second, at number 7, and you could sell me at the number 17 team at number 10. You really could. They're very close, all 4 of these teams here, but we're going to talk about USC here at number 10. Last season, in my eyes, was inexcusable. They should have had way more wins than they did. I know they lost a lot of one-score games, I know, but it was kind of inexcusable in my opinion, and it has to change. His wins over Wisconsin, Nebraska, and Rutgers were good signs. Good signs that not all hope is lost, in my opinion. But losses to Maryland, Minnesota, and Michigan were inexcusable, and frankly, they were signs of a struggle to assimilate into the new Big Ten. Last year, just watching them, this is the last thing I'll say about them last year, watching them really reminded me of the old USC. They upped their physicality, definitely, than the old Pac-12 USC teams did, but a lot of smaller guys making tackles, smaller guys at linebacker. They need to beef up their linebacker room. They need to beef up the players who are making the tackles, because you can't have these skinny guys running around making all the tackles, because it doesn't work, frankly. It may work for a game or 2, which may have been the case for the Wisconsin, Nebraska, and Rutgers games, which they did win. But really, it's not going to work out when you have a full-length Big Ten schedule. When you have to play 9 Big Ten games, it's hard. It's extremely hard to tackle every single one of these guys who show everyone is so the physicality levels off the charts in the Big Ten. I've been watching Big Ten all my life. Physicality is off the charts, but My question is, can they assimilate to that? And I think we had mixed results last season, and I need to see more of a affirmative yes this upcoming season. Now, looking forward to 2025, I think that they improved tremendously over the offseason as they went forward with their QB1 Jaden Mayava firmly in place, and they went out and got 5-star plus quarterback Husan Longstreet, which may be competing for that job, but I think it's more of a, last year with Will Howard and Julian Sayin last year. Overall, is Mayava better than Longstreet? I don't think so, but I think Mayava's the guy. They beefed up their trenches in the portal, getting 2 4-star interior offensive linemen to commit and 2 4-star defensive linemen to commit as well. The secondary will be one of the best in the Big Ten, according to my estimations, as they have one of the better returning safety duos in the country in Kamari Ramsey and Bishop Fitzgerald, who transferred in from NC State. Plus, they have 3 solid corners. This is not to say that they did not have their losses in the portal, but as is my main reason why I don't have them higher on this list, as they lost Zachariah Branch, Deuce Robinson, Quentin Joyner, and Kyron Hudson, all at the skill positions, not to mention losing Emmanuel Pregnon and Bear Alexander, although Bear Alexander, a lot of USC fans didn't really want him from what I see. And that doesn't really matter. All this is to say that the portal overall did them dirty, as losing all those skill position players hurt them bad. I know they still have Jacoby Lane, players such as that. Lane is a very good player. They still have very good players at skill positions, but it's just not a deep room at all. And Zachariah Branch was a really good player. Deuce Robinson, Quentin Joyner, Kyron Hudson, they were all really good players and highly rated recruits coming in. Overall, I think that USC can play spoiler in a loaded Big Ten. I just don't think that they have the wherewithal to stand up there with the big boys in the Big Ten, but they can give a lot of teams a run for their money. Like I said, you can make me a case for USC to be at 7 on this list in the top half of the Big Ten. You really can, but I just don't see it due to those portal losses. But you can sell me on it. I'm just not quite there yet. All right, halfway through the video, now halfway through the teams. At number 9, we have the Iowa Hawkeyes. Iowa's here at 9, right dead in the middle of the Big Ten. It was the same old Iowa last season, as quarterback play was abysmal, while they were led by another stellar defense, which allowed 17.7 points per game, which is amazing. And running back Caleb Johnson, who went in the third round of the NFL draft of the Steelers. I can't remember which round, but it was one of those middle rounds. He had over 1,500 yards last season. Really was the do-it-all back for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Single-handedly won them the Nebraska game, that's for darn sure. Going into 2025, I think that they got slightly worse over the offseason as they sent another batch of defensemen to the NFL, and they, as is the custom of Kirk Ferentz, did not really use the portal that well, as they play 17th out of the 18 Big Ten teams. Mark Gronowski, the one guy that they got that I was impressed by, is a true wild card to me. He could certainly ball out, but I don't think. I think there's a good likelihood that he won't as well. I think a lot of people are trying to take the positive side with him. I still, there is still cause for doubt with me here. Quarterbacks never work out in this Iowa system, first of all, so that could be his biggest hurdle is Iowa. That might be his biggest hurdle there. But also the fact that he doesn't have too many weapons on the outside. Yes, they have some nice pieces out there, but overall, I didn't think Tim Lester did too good of a job last year as OC. It was really the same old stuff, just some more creative runs, stuff like that. But Mark Gronowski, he could certainly ball out, and I think that there's a certain likelihood that he won't, in my opinion. I'm out on him for now. They returned a majority of their offensive line, however, which is a huge plus. They downgraded at running back, however, going from their All-American rusher and Caleb Johnson to the backup, Kamari Moulton, who could certainly ball out. He had a fair amount of yards last season as the backup, but it's objectively a downgrade, in my opinion. It should be yours as well. It's pretty objective there. On defense, I think that this 2025 squad will not be as dominant as we are used to seeing. Last year they averaged giving up 17.7 points per game. They gave up 20 points to Ohio State, who won the national championship game, except they scored 0 points in that game. But be that as it may, I don't think that they can bring back that same level of production. I still think that they'll be really good on defense. I just don't think that they'll be as dominant as we're used to seeing. So at this point, I'm used to giving Kirk Ferentz the benefit of the doubt when it comes to the defense and running the ball and winning those games that he shouldn't, or, very close ones. At number 8 here, I have the Minnesota Golden Gophers. This might be pretty high. I think this is pretty high for Minnesota from what I've seen, but I'm pretty confident in PJ Fleck here. They're one of my true wild cards in the Big Ten as well. I think I've named about three teams that are my big wild cards here. In my opinion, they could finish 6-6 or even 5-7, but they also have the potential to finish with 8+ wins. In my opinion, PJ Fleck is back with yet another roster ready to compete in the Big Ten. They have a fabulous 1-2 punch at running back, who I really like this 1-2 punch at running back with the incumbent Darius Taylor, who was the solo back last year, and he had great success, coupled with the 4-star transfer back from Marshall, AJ Turner. I really like that duo right there. Quarterback and wide receiver, however, I give pause because I'm not sure that I trust Drake Lindsay to be their true number one guy. Gopher fans, let me know what I'm dealing with here at quarterback in the comments down below, because I still need to do more research on him in the room as a whole. But I just think it's a mystery what we have here at quarterback for the Gophers. I'm not sure what to expect, really. At wide receiver, they lost several starters and they replaced the right side of the offensive line entirely. On defense, they have a couple stellar safeties in Coy Parrish and Kerry Brown. And overall, I think Minnesota will be able to compete in every game of the season, and their home field advantage is criminally underrated at Huntington Bank Stadium. Excuse me, it's a very good home atmosphere there. They're always a physical team. They're always ready to compete in the Big Ten. They always win in Big Ten ways, Big Ten West ways, if you want to put it. And PJ Fleck knows how to win in this league. He's done it for a very long time. He was a consistent 9-win a season type of guy until recently, where he's kind of fallen off. But I think he knows how to win in the Big Ten, and that is huge. Nebraska enters the race here at number 7. I have the Cornhuskers here at number 7. Everyone talks about the year 3 in the Matt Rhule rebuilds, and here we are arriving at year number 3. I need not repeat it. If you're a Nebraska fan, you've heard this a million times. He had double-digit wins at Troy and at Baylor. Sorry, Temple, not Troy. I'm sorry about that. At Temple and at Baylor in his year 3s before he went off to different jobs. They made their first bowl game in over a decade last season, and they won it. And in my opinion, they are primed for much better success in 2025. For starters, incumbent 5-star true freshman last year, now true sophomore, Dylan Raiola returns for the Huskers, and he has had an up and down season last year. Overall, I think people give him a little bit too much flack for his, mainly because he started turned down in the latter half of the season, but he was lights out in some of those games. In the Illinois game, he really sacrificed everything, and he was a stud in the Illinois game. He was a stud in the Colorado game. He was just overall a great leader, great poise in the pocket, delivers a great ball. Just got to work on his accuracy a little bit, in my opinion, and got to work on running the ball a little bit better and it being a little bit more um, football smart, in my opinion. And he's always had that talent. But with Dana Holgerson as offensive coordinator, I think that he will get those things sorted out. His supporting cast by far is the best out of any other team on this list, and that's why I have them at 7. The supporting cast around Raiola is amazing, in my opinion. Ja'Cory Barney returns as the speedster in the slot. An interesting tidbit on him is that he had 0 drops as a true freshman last season. He had 70+ targets, 0 drops. They reached into the portal. They had the number 2 portal class in the Big Ten. It was top 15 in the nation. They got Dane Key, an established number 1 wideout, 4 seasons at Kentucky, a ton of yards under his belt. He is a true number 1. And Isaiah Hunter, who's a really interesting piece out of Cal. The offensive line was revamped, getting a starter from Notre Dame and a starter from Bama to commit, and they should be huge upgrades over what they could have been dealing with. And overall, I do like their offensive line. Justin Evans-Jenkins, I think, is a really good player, etc. The defense, I have full confidence in as well. A lot of people talk about this defensive line as a problem for the Huskers. I think it could be one of their strengths if they play their cards right. I really like the Keona Davis at the defensive line spot. They obviously got Williams Nwaneri in the portal. They got some other portal guys. I really like Deshaun McCullough coming off the edge, being that jack linebacker type of spot. And their secondary, we're going to have to wait and see on the secondary. They have some really nice pieces. It's a really deep secondary. I'm just not sure how much of it is star power, shall we say. I really like Sierra Wright, though, in that secondary. The question is, for these Huskers to have really big success in 2025. The question is, can they win those winnable one-score games? If they can win those games, I see them. The sky's the limit for them this upcoming season. Okay, at number 6 here, I think that this is where we have to draw a line between 6 and 7. I see a lot more out of these upcoming teams than I do from 7 and back. Beyond that, from going from Nebraska to Indiana here, I think we see sizable difference here. Indiana is at 6 after an earth-shattering season last year, with double-digit wins in a college football playoff appearance out of seemingly nowhere. By all accounts, they're being slept on again, but I think that their ceiling is one of the highest in the Big Ten. They reloaded with a criminally underrated quarterback in Fernando Mendoza out of Cal, who I really think highly of. They added Roman Hemby to be run to RB1 courtesy of Maryland. If you listen to the Maryland bit, I really like him, and that was one of the reasons why they're so low. And they were able to retain perimeter talent in Elijah Surratt, who, in my opinion, is a fantastic wide receiver, one of the best in the Big Ten. They had to replace their entire offensive line with transfers, which always gives me pause, but I'm confident in their incoming center, Pat Coogan from Notre Dame, and incoming tackles, and Mikulski from Ohio State. The defense retained key players such as Mikhail Kamara, D'Angelo Ponz, and Aiden Fisher, who were all really, really good players last year. Overall, the sky's the limit for the Hoosiers. The schedule is no help to them, but if one thing is for sure about Coach Cignetti, he does not shy away from any matchup, and we do not grade these. We do not put schedules to account for in these power rankings. They're power rankings. They're not any other type of thing where you would factor schedules in. So I have Indiana here at number 6, very close to number 5 here. And at number 5 here, reaching into our top 5, we have the Illinois Fighting Illini. Illinois starts off our top 5 here. Illinois is a team being slept on, as not many people, I think, really know what this team is going to look like. The key here with this team here is that they have an excellent returning quarterback in Luke Altmaier. He does make my top 10 quarterbacks video, which will be coming out soon, by the way. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten, in my opinion, and they have a very solid running back room. And I think although they lost their top 2 wide receivers in Pat Bryant and Zachary Franklin, I think that the skill positions will play just fine. Tight end Tanner Arkin at that skill position is a huge plus for them, as he's one of the better tight ends in the country. And the defense here is huge, which returns a bunch of key players. They are top 10 in returning production, most valuable of which is outside linebacker Gabe Jacobs, who led the team in sacks last season with 8 and was second on the team in tackles. He was a game wrecker. Also, Xavier Scott, who led the team in interceptions with 4 returns on the back end of the defense. So they have a very well-rounded defense, in my opinion. Overall, this Illinois team, I think, is bound for, at the very least, a bowl game. And at its ceiling, Brett Bielema could put this team into the playoffs, in my opinion. Okay, now we get into the top 4 here, where all the big dogs are. I have Michigan here at 4. Michigan here may seem a bit optimistic, but I'm confident in the fact that this team that Sharon Moore is going to be putting on the field this season is a really good one. Excuse me. For starters, they have all the momentum in the world after their last 2 games were a W in Columbus against Ohio State and a W against Bama in the ReliaQuest Bowl. 2 huge wins. Now they have their quarterback 1 in Bryce Underwood, the number 1 player in the 2025 recruiting class, and I think he is a stud, as many people do, and he'll probably start. The running back tandem is not getting talked about enough, with Justice Haynes coming in from Bama and Jordan Marshall, the returning running back, who are both studs. Really does remind me of the Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards days. Wide receiver concerns me, I admit, but I think that the identity of this offense is run first, and with a physical dual threat quarterback in Bryce Underwood, they will be able to open up the pass game. On defense, they lost a ton of star power in Will Johnson, Mason Graham, and Kenneth Grant, but they did not lose too much else on this defense, as it remains fairly deep and stable, which is huge in today's game. I think Ernst Hausman at linebacker is a stud and it will break out. Derek Moore, Jayshon Barham, Zeke Berry, and Rod Moore all return multiple-year guys at Michigan, all starters from last year. I am extremely high on the defense and cautiously optimistic about the offense, thus justifying this number 4 spot. At number 3 here, and going from 3 to 1, this is really splitting hairs, but I have Ohio State at number 3. First off, they are coming off that tremendous high of a national championship win. The way their team was built last year was not really built for this year. What I mean by that is they lost many, many starters to the NFL draft, all but two starters on defense to be exact, and over half of the starters on offense. This is really good news as it shows where Ohio State really is as a program, but in terms of 2025, it's bad news because they lost a lot of talent. So that's the bad news, really. Other than that, all the news is positive. Ryan Day right now is the top 3 coach, in my opinion, and has built a fantastic roster to compete this year. Julian Saint at quarterback is criminally underrated. Former 5-star recruit watched Will Howard go out and win a natty last season, and he is fired up to go do it himself. Watching and learning is probably the best thing a quarterback can do, in my opinion, in today's college football game where everyone wants to go out and, go out there as a true freshman and just sling it all around. I think it's better for development if they sit a year, which I think is huge that Julian Saint was able to do that, and he has the talent to just go do whatever he wants on the football field, in my opinion. The offense itself is underrated beyond Jeremiah Smith, and need I say more on him? We won't talk about him, but he is a player worth talking about for like a full hour. But the wide receiver core is the best in the nation, hands down, in my opinion. And the running back room is underrated, and the offensive line, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. They deserve the benefit of the doubt. They've earned it. The defense retains only Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs as true starters from last season, yet they retooled with mostly backups from last season, which were all really high-rated recruits. That's just the way Ohio State works. And they added one key transfer, and that would be Edge Bew Atkinson, and I think that he'll be able to play a key role in this upcoming year's Ohio State Buckeyes on the defensive side. Overall, the Buckeyes are ready for another championship season. They're geared up, but I cannot power rank them, which is key, power rank them higher than Oregon and Penn State due to all the starters leaving. And, they're playing a lot of last year's backups this upcoming season. At number 2, and now you guys know who number 1 is. At number 2, I have the Oregon Ducks. Oregon curb stomped everyone last season, save for the Rose Bowl, but they assimilated great to the Big Ten. I don't have too much else to say on last season. Dare I say, this upcoming season, they are underrated in the true sense of the word going into this upcoming season, and I'm not falling for it. Dante Moore may be unproven, but he has been waiting and learning the Oregon system, like we just said with Julian Sayin, how he didn't start his first year with his program at Ohio State. Dante Moore did the same thing. Both quarterbacks are otherworldly talented, in my opinion, and Dante Moore, I think, will thrive at Oregon here. They had the number 1 overall portal class in the Big Ten and 5th overall. It was relatively small. I think they only got like 10 or 11 or 12 players, but they hit on every single one, getting 2 starting tackles, number 1 in the number 2 overall player, 5-star Isaiah World from Nevada, and 4-star Alex Harnke. So they've got tackle locked up. Their interior offensive line, I do trust. I really love their center. And I already talked about their incoming running back in my top 5 running back video. Go watch it. It was a very good one. Mekhi Hughes, who is very good. And they still have Noah Winningham, who ran for over 500 yards as the backup last year. So the O-line, running back room, wide receiver room, all really good. Plus with Will Stein as their OC, are you kidding me? This offense is going to be putting up 35 points per game, no doubt. On defense, they bring back one of the most impactful edge players in the country, Mateo Uiagalelei. They also return Bryce Botticher at middle linebacker, and they got one of the portal's top safeties in Dylan Thieneman from Purdue. Overall, Oregon is a top 5 team in the nation, number 2 here in the Big Ten, second only to Penn State, as I have a couple minor questions in the secondary for Oregon, and how much do I really trust DC Tosh Lupoi? And at number 1, you guessed it by now if you are an intelligent college football fan, it's Penn State. Penn State takes the offseason number 1 spot here in this video for the Big Ten. And look, if you see my top 25 video, you would know that I had them number 2 in the country. If you want to win, do what the winners do. Case in point, last year, Ohio State won the Natty with a bunch of vets like we already talked about, and they spent all that, $20 million, whatever amount it was, to keep the vets in the program instead of transferring or going to the NFL draft. As TreVeyon Henderson 2 drafts ago could have gone middle round. All these guys could have got big paychecks in the NFL 1 year in already, but they decided to come back to Ohio State, and they ended up winning a natty because of it. What did Penn State do this offseason? They spent all their money to keep the vets back. Drew Aller at quarterback, back. Nick Singleton and Kate Allen at running back, back. Donnie Dennis Sutton, Zane Durant, Tony Rojas, Dominic DeLuca, Zakee Wheatley, AJ Harrison, Zion Tracy, all on defense. All of them return. and that's huge. All were stars on defense last year. I think the defense is going to be top 3 in 2025, top 2, top 1. And the offense retained a solid offensive line, a top 3 quarterback in the country in Drew Aller, the best running back room in the country, and I really do like their wide receiver room, which they could just completely redid in the portal. That was really the only reason why they used the portal, was to get wide receivers, and I loved it. They got their true number 1 guy in Trevor Pena from Syracuse, 4-star guy out of the portal, also getting Kyron Hudson from USC and Devonta Ross from Troy. Overall, this team will be the team to beat coming out of the Big Ten, as they have one of the greatest home field advantages in college football at Beaver Stadium, and they have a stud coaching staff that James Franklin has built around him, with Andy Kotelnicki at OC and a stud DC coming from Ohio State in Jim Knowles. That is it for me. I'm sorry that this video ran later than I wanted to. I wanted this video to be more like half an hour. It's more like 40 minutes. I'm sorry about that. But if you have waited through all this, gold star for you, and I thank you. And if you have not already, please subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to build what we have here, and you subscribing means a lot, and I really do mean that. We have a ton of content already out and on the way, so stay locked in here to the College Football 360 YouTube channel, and, comment, click the bell notification, do all that stuff. Let me know your thoughts down below. I really do like and enjoy to hear your thoughts down below. With that being said, I'm out, and I'll see you guys in the next one.